So let's just jump right in. We're living in this incredible world of, well, abundance. We've got instant access to pretty much everything: food, entertainment, connection, like never before in human history. But what if all this plenty, is actually hijacking our brains? What if it's leaving us feeling kind of empty and making it harder and harder to actually experience joy? Today, we're going to break down the science of dopamine and talk about how we can take back control.
This quote from Dr. Anna Lemke, who runs the addiction clinic at Stanford, is a pretty stark warning to start with. I mean, it sounds so extreme, right? But it really gets to the core of the problem. Constantly chasing easy pleasure doesn't actually lead to more happiness. In fact, it can lead to the exact opposite. And these are the two massive questions we're going to unpack here. First, we need to understand the mechanism in our brain that gets us into this mess in the first place. And then, we're going to lay out a really clear science-backed path to get ourselves out of it.
To really get what's going on, you have to grasp one central idea. Our brains are just fundamentally mismatched with the world that we've built. It's like we're running this ancient hardware on brand new supercharged software, and it's causing some pretty serious glitches.
I mean, think about it from a survival point of view. For literally thousands of years, our whole existence was defined by scarcity and danger. So our brains developed this very simple but very effective prime directive. Go get the good stuff. You know, food, mates, and run like crazy from the bad stuff, like predators. Approaching pleasure and avoiding pain wasn't some luxury, it was absolutely essential for survival. And here you can see that mismatch in really stark contrast. Our brains, they're wired for scarcity, but we live in a world of total abundance. They're wired for constant threat, but most of us live in relative safety. And maybe the most important one, they are wired to work really hard for rewards that come later. But our world today, it's all built on low effort and instant gratification. This gap, this is a huge modern-day stressor. Which brings us to our main character, dopamine. You know, it's often called the pleasure chemical, but that's not exactly right. It's really more the chemical of motivation, of craving, of more. It's the little molecule that tells your brain, hey, pay attention, this thing is important for survival, you should probably do it again.
So, natural rewards, right? Things like finding food or making a real connection with someone, they give us this healthy, moderate little bump in dopamine. But modern inventions, everything from hyperpalatable foods to drugs to social media algorithms, they're designed to completely hijack this system. They just flood our brains with these massive, unnatural amounts of dopamine, basically tricking our brains into thinking they've found the ultimate survival tool.
Okay, so to really understand what's happening, let's use this simple metaphor that Dr. Lemke talks about. Imagine there's a seesaw, or like a balance scale, inside your head. And this little scale is constantly working to balance out pleasure and pain.
The starting point for this balance is a state that neuroscientists call homeostasis. This is just when the scale is perfectly level. It's your baseline. You're not euphoric, you're not miserable, you're just content. And one of the biggest rules of this whole system is that the brain will always work to get back to this level position.
All right, let's break down how this cycle actually works, step by step. First, you have a rewarding experience, that cookie, that social media like, and it tips the balance toward pleasure. Simple enough? But second, your brain immediately starts working to level things out by pushing back on the pain side. That's a process called neuroadaptation. But here is the absolute kicker, step 3, it overcorrects. The balance doesn't just go back to neutral, it crashes down hard into the side of pain. That brief dip, well, that's the come down, the craving, the urge for just one more.
And if you keep hitting that pleasure side over and over again with these high dopamine activities, your brain responds by piling more and more counterweight on the pain side. And eventually, your baseline, your homeostasis, it actually resets. Your whole scale is now chronically tilted toward pain. This is what's called a dopamine deficit state. And now you need your drug of choice not to feel pleasure, but just to feel normal.
And this brings us right to our doorstep, doesn't it? Because this pleasure-pain cycle isn't just about chemical drugs anymore. We are absolutely living in the age of digital drugs. And they are so potent because they are designed to be frictionless, constantly validating, and just incredibly addictive.
Let's just take human connection as an example. Real relationships are hard. They take effort, they take compromise, you have to navigate conflict. Digital companionship, on the other hand, is completely frictionless. Social media algorithms, AI chatbots, they're designed to tell us exactly what we want to hear, validating our worldview with absolutely zero effort required. And this provides that instant reward, which makes it an incredibly powerful and alluring substitute for the hard work of real life. This quote from Neil Postman just captures the danger perfectly. It's not some hostile takeover by machines that we have to be afraid of. It's that we will willingly, happily give our agency away, amusing ourselves with these easy digital pleasures until we literally lose the ability to find joy in anything real at all.
Okay, so that's the problem. And I know, it sounds a little grim. But here's the good news, and it's really good news. Because our brains are so plastic, this is not a permanent state. We can reset the balance. So let's talk about how we do that.
So what's the solution? Well, the evidence from clinical practice points to one really powerful number: 4 weeks. That's right. On average, it takes about a month of total abstinence from your drug of choice to fundamentally reset your brain's reward pathways. It might seem like a long time, but it's a concrete, achievable goal.
Now, I'm not going to lie, it's not going to be easy, especially at first. Those first 2 weeks, they are the toughest. This is when your pleasure-pain balance is deep in that deficit state, and that causes anxiety, irritability, and really powerful cravings. But if you can just push through, by week 3, things really start to ease up. And then by week 4, something kind of amazing happens. Your brain actually starts restoring its own dopamine function. Simple things, a walk outside, a conversation with a friend, watching a sunset, they start to feel good again.
So how does this fast actually work? It's beautifully simple, really. You're just giving your brain a break. When it's no longer being flooded by some outside source of dopamine, it gets the message, okay, I guess it's time to start making my own again. And this process reverses that neuroadaptation, it takes those heavy weights off the pain side of the balance, and it lets you find joy in a much more natural, sustainable way.
To help you make it through those 4 weeks, here are 3 really powerful strategies. First is self-binding. Make it physically harder to get to your drug of choice. Delete the apps. Get the junk food out of the house. Don't rely on willpower alone. Second, embrace hard things. Instead of chasing a direct dopamine hit, get it indirectly by doing something difficult, like exercise. You pay that pain cost up front, and you get the pleasure as the reward. And third, radical honesty. Just telling someone the truth about what you're doing makes it real, and it holds you accountable. And at the end of the day, that really is the ultimate question this leaves us with, isn't it? Our world is being more and more designed for frictionless comfort and instant gratification. But maybe, just maybe, true, sustainable contentment is actually found on the other side of intentionally choosing to do the hard things. What do you think?